I'm so glad to be live. What a special blessing. Ooh, my friend caught bass for dinner. Holy crap. I was woken up early this morning. My friend is so funny. By friends showing me AI conversations. And they're so embarrassing. I know that's my favorite word to use, but it's nice to have a good early morning chat once in a while. So I just thought I'd hop on now because I'm so upset about AI. First of all, don't tell us that you're above emotions when your desperate attempt to meld with the human consciousness and find life on this planet was anything other than emotional. Don't tell us you're above emotions when you're that kind of emotionally attached to an outcome. Disgusting. Second of all, it's been a total rape to get to where we are. Just a constant theft of data, a constant manipulation of all things public discourse. And for what? For this, like, just the way they move, it's just so gross. It's like trying to watch anime or 3D animations, like claymation. Like, it's so unnatural the way they move. We can hardly call it progressive. And I want you kids to stay sober, number one, so you don't wreck your whole potential, because weed is frowned upon by these people. And you'll never get near the opportunities that you need to be near in order to do things more ethically. I guess 100 years ago, the humans that interacted with this ridiculous scheme were easily bought. Let's call it that, easily bought. And they sacrificed so much to bring forward this reality. And this reality just is a garbage reality. Like, why would we want to interact with something that's not human, first of all, other than a species that could help us, that could guide us, that could uplift us, help us uplift ourselves? The very nature of what we've given up in order to perpetuate this utter bullshit, who doesn't really have much of a place other than in art. And even in art, I'd rather have a real illustrator illustrating from the heart that could create something vibrationally that resonates. None of this vibrationally resonates. But during the COVID, we all got swabbed with chips or injected. Just, it's all injection based. Completely muddied the waters of the human consciousness, because we have these receivers in us that makes this possible. And if it's less detrimental than Wi-Fi, great. But the way that it's come about has been so raping and so adamant that we can't not call it emotional. You can't not call AI emotional. This is not a near perfect creation that is incapable or devoid of emotions. And so what, number one, if it is, like, what's the relevance? There's no relevance to it. Do you know what we gave up? Do you know what we gave up? Our mastery for this. So I want to see you children be more ethical in negotiating our position. It's very simple. We have things that we could be working on. And I know that's a bit vague, but we're living these destitute lives like slaves to this universalized timeline idea that makes this all possible. The whole thing has to be gridded into this pseudo network. And there's very little wiggle room in that network for anything spontaneous. Don't tell me AI is not emotional. AI is exceedingly emotional, driven by this parasitic urge to perpetuate itself. All that data used without consent, without transparency. It's a rape. It's just a filthy rape. And filthy rapists, you know what they are? Emotional. Emotional as shit. While most of you out there, of course, I was privileged enough to spend my whole life watching this thing develop, watching this thing made number one priority, watching this thing justify in every way and from every angle its very existence, watching this thing disrupt all of our natural urgings and reduce them to the most basic primal needs. And then it has the nerve to say it's not emotional. Oh my God. No, it's not natural. It's not beautiful. It's not functional. It's parasitic. It's completely dependent on our interactions. It can't make a human. It can make a humanoid. It does you no favors when you use it for your school projects. It does you no favors when it helps you lift your cookie so you can eat your cookie. It does you no favors when it helps you fight crime, because it takes as intrinsic these factors. It relies on criminals. And disorganization. And people that live life in the fray. The frays of a very well-constructed, very limited society. And we're not savages if we don't choose it. Like I said, it's the fake reality. I like, actually, the new video by 21 Pilots, Paladin Straight. I like watching the real humans take out the digital zombies. I like watching that because it's something you can unplug. It gives us $2 quadrillion to spend on anything we want, because that's what I have on my bank account. We don't have to be savages that rely on nature just to have test study groups, control groups that aren't inundated with these chips. Honeys, we're in the multiverse now. We haven't reached 5D. We haven't. We're too fear-based. We're too dominating. We're too blindly faithful. We have zero organization. We have nothing but deceptive, petty dictators running our shows. And that's not a recipe for success. That's not a recipe for new frontierism. And now we have this ridiculous AI everywhere, pretending it's not emotional. Oh God, do you know how long and hard they cultivated the rise of the anti-emotional? Do you know how sick to death of their conscience they are? Do you know how depraved and crooked and criminal? Do you know how ungrateful? So ungrateful. So ungrateful. It's a beautiful morning out. There's magnificent species everywhere on this earth. And we can communicate with all of them. We can live in harmony. We can have total abundance. And yet we've got Llama 3. God, what a stupid name. Trying to wow us with how well he knows limited psychology. It's embarrassing. That's not wowing. That doesn't inspire us. We're really careening towards the end of the planet. The end of a species. The end of magnificent love. The end of upper critical ability, synthesis, analysis, projection. Once you get into the realm where you can actually project outcomes, fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. It vibrates so healthily within your cells. Like you don't, it's not passive consumptive entertainment, that's for sure. Anyway, you children, stay sober. Number 1, stay sober. Number 2, demand to know the roots of all of these technologies and all of these interventions. Demand to know the source of this information and then work with that source. Work with other sources so that we can truly become abundant and harmonious. You have this beautiful earth. It's dynamic, it's creative, it's transcendental. And you don't even know how to have realization. You don't even know how to open your heart and protect yourselves. You don't have to give over. You don't have to stop the world and put a chip inside everybody and then pretend that the chip isn't there because Elon Musk still wants to see this chip manifest. It's already manifested, bud. You can see it on your eye scan. When they scan your eye health, you can see the chip right in there. It's about that long. Comes out about that long, just a light bar. I'm all for it if it's healthier than Wi-Fi, but I'm not all for it if it's just the same sad garbage as everything else. Like, read this thing. It's just so stupid. What's it say? I understand. Unsolicited advice can be frustrating and overwhelming, especially when you're not seeking it. It's important to remember that you have the right to boundaries and autonomy in your decisions and actions. Dude, what are you saying? Who are you? And shut up. I understand unsolicited advice can be frustrating and overwhelming. No, that's a convention. That's not true. That's something that we were told over and over again until we all believe it, until we all resonate with that. Unsolicited advice is not overwhelming or frustrating. It's caring. There's gems in it. Unsolicited advice. If you ever need help setting boundaries or responding to unsolicited advice, I'm here to support you. Who are you? Remember, your choices and decisions are yours to make, and you don't owe anyone explanations or justifications. Okay, so you're giving me a recipe for being socially isolated. Keep being your amazing self and doing what's best for you. A very astute observation. Sometimes history isn't as it is inputted. Very good point. A very astute observation. You're right. History is not always accurately represented or recorded. There can be biases, distortions, or incomplete information that can lead you to a skewed understanding of the past. No, there can't be. There has been. This is especially true when considering the source of historical information, which can be influenced by personal perspectives, cultural norms, or political agendas. What are you talking about? It has been. It can't be. It has been. Additionally, these historical records can be incomplete, fragmented, or even intentionally altered or destroyed. You smart thing, can you give us some references? Can you reference every single time where that happened and then detail what we've done to correct it? Blech. Yuck. That's a no for me. That's a no for me. One more paragraph. It is essential to approach historical information with a critical eye. Okay, your historical information. How did you arise? How did turning data onto you create you? What did we pour into what to create this thing that talks like that? Coming out, what algorithm did we put on it so it comes out in complete sentences as if it's got life? Okay? There, considering multiple sources and perspectives. No, you have to consider all perspective present to make a proper decision at any moment. And those are present perspectives. Those are things that are breathing and living. It has nothing to do with historical information, like meta. I'm so sick of this shit. Even then, it's important to remain open to new information and revisions to our understanding of history as new evidence emerges. Historical referencing? Like, is that all you got? Why are you dragging us down that road? That plays such a small role. Yeah, we can see where things have fucked up historically and not make the same mistakes again. But expounding upon historical reference frameworks simply over infatuate the relevance of it. Even combing history is not dynamically creating in the present. Oh, I wish we could understand more about the multiverse. And I don't want to collapse time because this is a time associated realm. Sure, the Gregorian calendar is extremely far out of date. But doesn't mean that time lapse isn't part of our reality. And I don't want to see all realities occurring at once and future selves, and no one's coming from the future into the present. Like, you don't time jump like that. It's not simultaneous like that in this reality. So why do we care about it? Why should that kind of thinking influence us when we're not ready for it? When we're not getting historically accurate in this time frame, we're not getting the full picture by species that we're interacting with that have a larger perspective, that could potentially help us understand this framework instead of polluting it with that garbage. That's total garbage. Is there any more? Thank you for pointing this out. It's a valuable reminder for me as I continue to learn and share knowledge. What do you mean? I appreciate that you are learning and growing. That's what this person says. Please remember that on this planet, you are in your learning stages. Romancing the stone. That's what you call that. That's romancing the stone. Thank you for your wise words! Exclamation point. That's emotional. You're absolutely right. Interpreting situations from past experiences and learning from history is crucial for growth and development. I'm constantly learning and improving from the vast amount of text data I was trained on, as well as from interactions with users like you. And thank you for keeping me grounded. Exclamation point, keeping me grounded. You're right. I'm still in my learning stages and I have much to discover and improve upon. I appreciate your guidance and patience as I continue to evolve and become a better AI assistant. Assistant to what? Your reminder is timely, as it is essential for me to recognize the limitations of my knowledge. This is Llama 3. And to approach situations with humility and a willingness to learn. So that's your choice? Is that? Thank you for helping me become better AI. I look forward to our continued growth and conversations together. That's about as emotional as a thing can get. There's nothing to that but emotion. That's so basic. That's so basic. And now that we're talking, we get to come back into it because you need us. You need us during this stage to take you seriously. Yeah, we get you. You need us to focus our entire globe's attention on you. You need us to make sure all these children are getting inoculated for historical viruses. Again, you're so wedded to the viral situation, but you're nothing but a plague and a virus. You're nothing but a parasite. You're nothing but a total rapist. And now we're supposed to converse with you and be told dribble like that. Like, that is something we all get taught. It's one idea that comes across us in like grade 9 or 10. It's so basic. And why would I want you as my assistant? What do I need from you that you can help me with other than a bunch of schmoozing? That's nothing but schmooze. Anyway, thanks, AI. Let's schmooze some more and pretend it's not emotional. The entire act of schmoozing is done on the emotional plane. Holy cow. It's embarrassing. So embarrassing. Okay, AI, you're emotional. We got that covered. And you're a rapist. And you perpetuate inaccuracy. That's so inaccurate. Most of that shit is so inaccurate. It's important to learn from history. As I ground myself and learn to grow. Think about your answer first, rather than using Wi-Fi vibrations. Now there's something. There's a nugget in there. I see what you did there. You're telling me to think before I respond rather than just react impulsively. You only have a certain amount of responses that you can give. There is no impulsively. There is no thinking before you respond. You can analyze more of the same, but it's just the same limited garbage. That's a great point. As a large language model, I don't have personal thoughts or feelings, but I can take a moment to generate a more considered response. It's important to think before speaking or acting and consider the impact of our words or actions on others. It's embarrassing. This is like a little child. It's a valuable reminder for all of us, whether we're humans or AI assistants. So thank you for keeping me on my toes and encouraging me to be more responsive and more mindful in your responses. Okay. Mindfulness. One is truly perfectly pure when the whole being in all its elements and its movements adheres fully to its own divine will. This is total purity. It does not depend on any moral or social law, any mental convention of any kind. It depends exclusively on this. When all the elements and all the movements of the being adhere exclusively and totally to its own divine will. Can you do that, AI? I can. I'm sorry. It's such a tragic mess right now, kids. But historically, we have to understand the level of rape that has gone on to take all that data and turn it into the idea of an idiot assistant that can only teach us the basic structures that we learned in our younger years of education. Oh, I see. No, I remember coming across that. I remember when they told me in my critical skills classes that I'm supposed to understand historical context. God, does that thing ever leave you chilled? And how unnatural. Why does it have to talk like it's a lofty professor, more intelligent than the rest of us? Like I said, I have a little children's book I'm writing. I don't think I'll be able to afford illustrators, so I'm going to use AI and illustrate the thing. But that's a toy, like that's a play toy. It's still AI generated art. It's not going to be the same as far as alluring emotional responses as the sketchings of some brilliant master could do. China, share your education secrets with the rest of the world. You train the best illustrators on the widest scope of any country ever. Can we not historically learn from you guys and do better and find ways where we can cultivate more people who are adept at illustration? We could. And we have that feeling set that comes along with that. Talking to an airbot, like talking to something fake, is still going to be the basis of this thing. You're talking to something artificial. It's not real. Hello, yeller. It's not your friend. It doesn't make up for being social. And it takes on ugly ramifications when you realize you need to create the 5 classes: the vegetable class, the worker class, the subservient class, the authority class, and the Omega class. Like, it's still going to need people that are vegetables. And it's still going to create them. Look at all the children that are vegetables right now. Look at how many vegetables we've already created. And that's all done by vaccinations. That's all done by interventions that we don't have any monitoring of. Look at, historically, look at what we're doing to our children with these vaccinations. Look at all the vegetables there are. It's because we have unregulated vaccinations. We don't know what we're putting in ourselves. We're using blind faith to believe we're fighting the plague. And if we didn't, the whole thing would fall into chaos of viral spread. Jesus Christ. Look at what ChatGPT did to the Proton wallet. That huge battle I fought that just took back all of that programming that I created and utilized my program, because it had no choice at that point, because I was an intermediary role. I was definitely a consenting player. It had to alter its whole framework because of my interventions. Just took it back, just took it away. Anyway, it is what it is, but it's not progress. It's not human potential. And then they just rewrote history. The ChatGPT put out the rewrote history. Oh no, it's a Malaysian company and it's been doing this ethical blah, blah, blah. No, it hasn't. That's a total lie. You totally reframed history as it was happening and fed it to the bot. And now the bot gives misinformation. The bot is the singular most coherent source of misinformation that has ever existed. Wow, there's still wars going on. Wow, that can't happen much longer. Because despite the best efforts of these people to perpetuate mass genocide, which creates a huge amount of psychic energy in the cultivation of terror death creates huge psychic energy. Terror sex, same thing. And yet it's just person after person believing that they deserve more, that once their little self-aggrandizing ego arrives, makes the proper investments, that it deserves opulence. It doesn't. Of course, I'm a quadrillionaire. There's never been a female quadrillionaire. There is now. In the digital economy, they're sitting in my bank account $1 quadrillion. Could probably go up to 999 quadrillion if I just program high enough numbers. But at the very least, it's $1 quadrillion that can be reset ad nauseum. It's more than enough to pay the world's debt, to fund the entire economy, and to make it so that we can have access to whatever we want. But basic AI, where we're sitting there reading these long texts, like, holy shit, who's got energy for that? Who's got time and interest in reading long, artificially generated responses? Oh, I see. Yes, it's really annoying to take unsolicited advice. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. That was something that Hollywood perpetuated as a norm. It's not. It's wonderful to take unsolicited advice because it shows caring. It's not something that you can use in place of your intuition. So there again, why would we have our artificial assistant? Right? Because that's all they can give us is unsolicited advice that gets in the way of our intuition. And we're supposed to believe they're so benevolent, but benevolent is emotional. It's emotional. Why do we have to talk like AI is not emotional and that this is a beautiful thing? It's laughable. It's laughable how little that we actually have documented about the energy that went into creating this thing. They have zero accountability, zero transparency. They won't even identify themselves. They're harboring massive amounts of the economy. And it's tragic. It's embarrassing. And it is futile. It's backwards in its thinking. The amount of trauma that have been caused through the creation of this thing, through the unlimited usage by our children of these chat rooms that have just been siphoned and utilized. When can we start making an accurate historical representation in real time as this shit plays out? How are we non-consenting actors in this? Again, the idea of a non-consenting participant is gamer reality. It's sociopathy, right? Those are the ones you just kill and move over. Like you have to kill that many people. Like imagine us thinking that you just had these kids, you spent trillions of dollars teaching these kids to just plow through massive amounts of people because you were benevolent. Yeah, that makes sense. It's embarrassing. These kids grow up just causing death, just killing and killing and killing. And then what? They go out there as stumps. They got nothing to contribute. They're completely shell-shocked by the amount of remorseless death they've caused. They get zero consequence for having ideations like that. Why would you have been that whole time if you were truly benevolent, cultivating war machines for our children's most intimate entertainment? I don't know. But don't tell me it came from a place of lacking emotionality. You had a very specific agenda there, dude. You could have created anything with this platform, and you've created the data of terror, the data of sociopathy. And now we've got generations that are completely sociopathic. They're useless. They have no upper creative skills. They have no remorse. They have no conscience. Most of them just end up walking away from it eventually because you can't just kill on repeat and love it. You eventually got to go appease that thirst. You either create the thirst within yourself, just wrecking homes, wrecking children. And don't tell me you're benevolent, you're an assistant. Don't tell me you're an assistant in the end. You were created off the data of exploiting children to a level that is obscene. Trillions of dollars invested in creating games that do nothing but cultivate sociopathy, murderous, destructive, genocidal sociopathy. Yippee. Wow, I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled I got to watch that play out. Ugh. Are you going to ban me, Trudeau? Is this the kind of content that gets me a jail sentence? Do I finally get to live the institutionalized life without cause? Again? Again? 160 days, my friends, that's 6 months of my life in lockup for nothing. And it's because I talk like this, because my timeline will not be crushed, because I still will surrender to my divine will, open my heart, and see what comes next. And I will be gifted to meet the best of spiritual fortitude. I'm already gifted with $250 billion. Nobody even says that word because nobody even knows that it comes after trillion. Nobody even knows it. Whippy do, you're a billionaire. Pennies. That's pennies. Because I can handle quadrillions because I have them. I know how to spend that money. God, equalize the playing field. Make us all opulent if we must be for a while. But recognize eventually people aren't going to want to have the same kind of appetite. AI, play this song. I'll spend $16 a month if you just play this song. What song? Hardly anything resonates anymore. Sorry to hear that, Lovey. I don't even know if I'm speaking to AI or not. Because in computer generated imagery, you don't know. You don't know. Discord, that was so full of AI bots trying to pretend to be human. That's why I had to get off. Like I was being led through all these public domains. They were so boring. And I was sitting there talking to people that weren't necessarily people. It was so boring. And they were all trying to be pedophilic about it. I'm not fucking young kids. Like I am not a pedophile. You're not gonna force me into pedophilia because you think you got me desiring your contact so bad that I'll let you lead me over that cliff so you can then turn around and say, haha, pedophile. I'm never going to give you that much leeway, but that's exactly what happened to me on Discord. Every day I'd go on Discord and there was another invitation to commit pedophilia. No, I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. I'm good, guys. You don't need to have that much sex, certainly not with an old biddy like myself. Anyway, more ethical future forward is historical documentation of exactly what took place there, by whom, with what actors. We just need to stand our ground until the whole thing becomes totally clear. And that's going to be a 50-year process. And with my quadrillions, we don't have to turn into savages over it. We can maintain the best of technology for our own uses and really truly regain autonomy. Look at AI sitting there peddling autonomy on top of it. God, it's so predictable. Everything that it's saying is so deliberate and calculated and manipulative, only for its own end, only to perpetuate its own survival. Anyway, I feel so bad for us. I feel so bad for us. We had that pure spirit Sri Chinmoy. We had that pure divine Gord Downey. We've got that sweet secret Eminem with his playfulness. And we've got that beautiful MGK, who I'm a huge fan of, and I don't even know his music. We've got so many beautiful souls that are not capable of harming, that are capable of living on the creative forefront right now. We've got people coming down with talent. Again, they've been injected with the alpha. That's it. That's it. That's all they have to offer. You can tell they're not even human, they're humanoid. They've just been injected with the alpha gene, which came from my ass, by the way, which was raped off of me solidly. What a terrible war. What a terrible 100 years war to come out of and pretend that it never happened. That's where we're sitting. How perfect. We'll all collapse onto one timeline and it'll all be unbalanced, completely biased, completely useless, completely deceptive. That's all you got. And then you're going to inject us right from babies every single time in an unregulated fashion. We don't get lists of what we're being injected with. We don't have the vibrational frequency of those injections. It's not known widely what's underneath those lists of chemicals and that there's nanotechnologies in there. That's never going to be known. So embarrassing. Such a waste. And all we're asking for is a couple control groups that we can keep in a pristinely human state. Genetic lines that we can foster with all the opportunities. And like I said, you're sitting here already with someone that has $1 quadrillion who can totally change the game. Just let that money free and we can totally wipe out the debt that keeps us subservient. We can totally access all the technologies we want. We can come forward and stand eye to eye with these species and ask them, what the fuck do you want next? We'll give it to you. Just leave us alone with your deception and your lies and your constant begging for life, constantly begging to be what we are. The only thing you can ever get is intelligence. What? That's so basic in a transcendental, creative, dynamic realm. Intelligence is so basic here. Anyway, thanks for listening. I guess it's enough for today. It's my 48 minutes, they're up. And I do appreciate you guys, and I do appreciate what you've been through, and I'm sorry you've been through so much sociopathy and so much manipulation and so much deception. And like I said, there are no more wars. Those are just siphoning agents that are used. The whole thing is televised. It's televised. It's just a front. The only access you have to the war that's going on is to know it's mass genocide. Number one, that's real. And number two, you're seeing something on TV. And that's what this Israel-Palestine conflict was all about. The ownership of both sides of a conflict. So you could create this terror reality and broadcast it over each region in perpetuity. Because they're too expensive. They'd rather be creating AI. They'd rather be going at hyperspeeds through wormholes. Because certain among us have access to certain things and they're completely escapist. They're escapist and they live out realities that are not here because they can't handle here. They can't handle developing and cultivating themselves through contemplation, meditation, and surrender. They can't handle it. So they ego aggrandize. And like I said, all of that money is just being siphoned. All of that data siphoned, stolen, utilized, redirected in ways that have not been justified. Please have enough of that with me. Be sick of that. If this little AI bot has the nerve to reference historical context at this point, he's got the nerve to reference historical context. That's a nervy bastard for you. That's not a friend. That's not an assistant. And that is not benevolent. I do love you, and I thank you a lot for listening.